The 1979 Iranian Revolution was a popular rebellion against the exploitation of the country's resources by the Western-backed monarchy of Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. In the 1960s, government corruption was extremely high, and the Shah was accused of stealing more than $31 billion, which he used to finance his extravagant lifestyle. In addition to this, the secret services of the Shah kidnapped, tortured, and executed anyone who spoke out against corruption. This eventually led to a massive anti-government uprising. Liberals such as Shahpur Bakhtiyar, socialists such as Nuruddin Kianuri, and religious leaders such as Khomeini all participated in the revolution. However, the most popular opposition figure during this period was Khomeini, who was a leading religious leader in Iran. Khomeini called for an Islamic government based on his interpretation of Islamic law. The message of Khomeini resonated deeply with many Iranians because he not only addressed economic injustice but also addressed the moral decay of Iranian society, which was as the result of the rapid westernization encouraged by the Shah. Many Iranians, such as Jalal Ahmed, who wrote the book entitled Westernization, felt that Iranian culture was being threatened by the Shah's blind imitation of the West. Therefore, many Iranians rallied around Khomeini and began to listen to his anti-government speeches. Khomeini believed that the main reason that Iran was suffering from corruption was because of the government's tendency to imitate everything Western. He believed that Muslim countries could progress scientifically without abandoning their religion and culture. He stated, "As the imperialist countries attained a high degree of wealth as the result of both scientific and technological progress and of their plunder of the nations of Asia and Africa, these Asian and African countries lost all self-confidence and believed that the only way to achieve technical progress was to abandon their own laws and beliefs." For instance, when the moon landings took place, many Muslim governments concluded that Muslims should abandon their laws. But what is the connection between going to the moon and the laws of Islam? Do they not see that countries with opposing laws and social systems compete with each other in technological and scientific progress? Let them go all the way to Mars or beyond the Milky Way. They will still be deprived of true happiness, moral virtue, and spiritual advancement, and will be unable to solve their own social problems. The solution of social problems and the relief of human misery require foundations in faith and morals. Merely acquiring material power and wealth, conquering nature and space, have no effect in this regard. In 1963, Khomeini was imprisoned after an anti-government demonstration, and in 1964, the Shah expelled Khomeini from the country. From his exile in France, Khomeini made anti-government speeches on the radio and television, which led to massive anti-government protests in Iran. During the anti-government protests of the 1970s, some opposition groups, such as the Communists, called for violent resistance against the government of the Shah. However, Khomeini called on his supporters not to provoke security forces and to avoid clashing with the army under any circumstances. as he saw the army as an integral part of the Iranian people. He stated, "Do not attack the army in the chest, but attack the heart and target their conscience. You must appeal to their hearts even if they open fire on you. Let them kill 5,000 or 10,000. We will prove to the world that blood is more powerful than the sword." As a result of this attitude, many Iranian army officers began to defect to Khomeini's opposition movement. Khomeini's followers began to organize strikes across the country. Frustrated with the situation, the Shah began to use brutal force. On September 8, 1978, the Shah announced a state of emergency and committed a massacre known as the Black Friday Massacre, after helicopters opened fire on a demonstration of 500,000 Iranians, killing 4,500 people. This was the nail in the coffin for the Shah, and all opportunities for the peaceful transfer of power were gone. On January 16, 1979, the Shah left the country after he appointed the opposition leader known as Shahpur Bakhtiyar as the new Prime Minister of Iran. On February 1, 1979, Khomeini returned to Iran from his exile in France and was received by a crowd of thousands of people.